welcome to Let's Play Gran Turismo 3, episode 107. Alright. And so for this segment, it is now time for us to get through the third and final part of the Polyphony Digital Cup, which is basically races 8 to 10. And up to this point, I would say the championship is more or less clinched up to this point. All I really need to do now is just score a point or more in the final race. It's basically just continue scoring up to the final race, and then basically the championship is well and truly decided. And I'm pretty sure the rest of the field, up to this point, probably has no chance of catching me. Alright, here we go. Starting off the concluding parts of the Polyphony Digital Cup, as of which it is of course the final 3 races of the Polyphony Digital Cup overall, and at the moment I'm not off to a very good start in comparison to the AI, but again, that's more or less what I would expect from a course such as this one, because I knew very well the AI were basically going to be better than me off the start anyway. But again, I don't think it'll be too long before I manage to take the lead. Up the inside of the striped Evo 6, and now going past the R33 Skyline, and now up into third position. Since it is a Friday morning, and I figured this would be the best time for me to just get this over with, and then it means I don't have to worry about doing this again for the rest of the week. So, already starting to battle for first position now with the Nissan Z as it currently stands, and I'm now up into the lead for the first time. Because of how long a lap is around this circuit, I am pretty sure the lap times I will set are not going to be sub 2 minutes. Because this is one of the longest circuits in the game coherently. And even though this is a better city course than Seattle, I still think under many circumstances this will probably be the longest race of them all, because of how big the track is. But again, I figured something like this would happen, which is why I chose this thing. And even though some of you may not necessarily agree to this idea, like I said before, the only reason why I chose to make it too easy for myself is simply because at the moment I do not have a lot of time left. And ordinarily I would do this for entertainment purposes, but because of how overcrowded my schedule has been recently, I figured this would be the best car for me to use, just to get this over with within a certain number of days, and then essentially trying to see if it's possible for me to complete the game potentially before the week after, even though it will probably be by that time. that I will have completed the game, but overall, we'll just have to wait and see how overcrowded my schedule is next week. Because I'll probably still be on this game over the weekend, just to sweep up the races that I did not win originally, because obviously that does count, of course, towards overall progression in the game. And yeah, a sub 2-minute time, I can probably accept that, especially considering I'm already, nearly more or less 5 seconds ahead of the Nissan Z up to this point. So 2 laps are already on the board. Must be said that for a course as long as this, somehow I am brave enough to admit when this course is ironically better than Seattle Reverse, because I don't tend to fuck up as much on this course as I did at Seattle. Even though I still very much lapped the competition, because that is how dominant I have been from more or less start to finish. And I would suspect once again I will probably win by an entire lap. So, I wonder who is in 3rd position up to this point, because it's either got to be the Skyline or it's the Mustang. It's either one of the two. I don't know which one, but it's got to be either one of the two. Although is this still going to be a new best lap time in spite of me fucking up at the chicane? Yes it is. By under 2 seconds. But yeah, I mean, I like this course. This course really isn't as... This course really isn't as poo-poo bum-bum as Seattle Reverse, in my honest opinion. And I have got to be honest, I really don't like Seattle Reverse. And yes, I did just say that. It's probably one of my least favourite circuits in the game. I mean, it's better than Test Course, yes, but it's a very difficult course to master compared to the forward course. If you want my honest opinion. So, I think up to this point, I'm basically just going to do my usual strategy up to this point, which is basically just setting a couple of purple lap times and then just trying to see if I can manage to make it through the rest of the race without making any major mistakes. Even though I'm pretty sure that is probably what will happen before this race is done. Because this is still Route 11. And Route 11 does have does have a variety of corners where you can literally fuck up a lap, which oddly enough is something I have done many times before, and still continue to do, because I am very much accident prone under those regards. It also wouldn't surprise me if this race takes me about less than 3/4 of an hour. Although, to any of you asking what exactly I consider to be my favourite course in the game, well, I would probably have to put Laguna Seca at the top, Apricot Hill second, and probably Route 5 in third. And I do mean Special Stage Route 5 when I say that, because I think all three of those are good circuits to race on. I would also put Grand Valley in my top 5 as well, along with Deep Forest. I think all 5 of those are great circuits to race on, from my perspective. Especially considering Laguna Seca in this game, like it was in Gran Turismo 2, it was notably both the first and only world circuit in both of those games. And even though Polyphony did have some city courses created at the time, the truth is, at the time of course, Laguna Seca was still the only world circuit in both games. And I don't think it was until Gran Turismo 4 that they actually started putting in more world circuits, because GT4 has a lot more circuits than this, and Gran Turismo 2. GT4 has a lot more circuits compared to these two. And oddly enough, at the time, of course, of when this game was released, this was literally the PS2 game to have on your shelf. Because in the early years of the PS2 life cycle, this game really was the game to have. I mean, I know I don't remember it very well, or at least I remember it very vividly, but I know very well that it was very much this game that was originally the game to have before the release of Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, which I think, as far as I know, was like 2004 when they released that game. Well, I think it was 04 when they released that game. Because, well, this game is 01, and I'm pretty sure that GTA SA was 04. And when I say that, I do mean Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, which oddly enough I've also heard is an excellent game to play, even though it does have its controversies. Even though that game, of course, like Mel Gibson at the time, it very much has its controversies. Because GTA SA was released at around about the same time the Mel Gibson film Passion of the Christ was released. And let me tell you, one thing I heard about that film is that it was hugely controversial. And that's exactly what many people can also say about the GTA series overall. Although oddly enough, we never actually got GTA SA here in Europe. I mean, for a game itself that was released in 2004, it was a game that we Europeans never got. I mean, the best we could basically get was American imports, and... oh, okay, it's the Mustang that is ahead of the Skyline once again, so... I think that's probably decided what exactly the final outcome is going to be. But their battle for third position. Oh shit. Okay. Oh, it's alright, it's fine. Well, I would say I'm probably gonna overlap most of the field within probably the next 10 laps or so, judging by the pace that I'm currently setting. Although I did figure now, of course, would be the time for me to get the best out of the tyres, so that's precisely what I am doing. And not too far off maybe beyond that lap. But again, I really need to try and see if I can limit the amount of time I'm spending in the walls. Anyways. So, the snack is running in second behind my snack, which means of course that effectively it is a 1-2 for the snacks at the moment. Although I'm pretty sure he has to pit in this... though I'm pretty sure he, along with the Skyline, they have to pit in next time around, so... or one of them has to pit. Okay, it's the Mustang that pits. And I would imagine it'll probably be the Skyline that pits in. Oh, yeah, okay. So they both pit in on the same lap, which means of course that the Mustang will stay ahead of the Skyline in terms of their battle for third position in the championship. And apart from that, of course, the only other battle that's really going on at the moment is more or less the battle for fifth position between the two Mitsubishis. Although I would think up to this point the positions have already been decided between those two. And I am not concentrating. Also, furthermore, that looks very reminiscent to the Golden Gate Bridge, that does. If you want my honest opinion on what I think that is. I think that's meant to be a resemblance of the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. I don't know if that's what it is for sure, but it more or less looks like a resemblance of the Golden Gate Bridge. I think that's what this is. Well, again, Route 11 is not necessarily one of my personal favourite circuits in this game. The truth is, I will admit, the circuit is better to drive on than Seattle Reverse. And yes, I have got to be honest, I really do not like Seattle Reverse in this game. It's just a complete elevation change to the normal circuit. It doesn't even feel like you're going through the same corners, you're just more or less heading into completely different corners when you're driving around that fucking circuit. And that's a wall, which I distracted myself on. Guess who is being the insufficient dumbass around here? Guess who is being the insufficient dumbass around here? By the way, that dumbass is me. Yeah, just gonna give it one more shot at trying to best my PB, and then if I don't manage to beat that, I'm just gonna go back to the pace I was setting before, which is basically just more or less going slow, since I think these tyres have probably gone past their best. But again, both myself and the Nissan Z are literally that much further ahead of the rest of the field right now that it literally just feels, you know, synonymous to assume the first and second positions have just not been decided. I would say that's quite the opposite. Yes, okay. I know very well that to you as the viewers this might be boring, but understandably, I more or less knew this was going to be the case because rubber banding in the professional league is nowhere near as strong as it is in both the beginner and amateur leagues. And I suppose you could also include the rally league as well, because rubber banding is quite strong in that one as well. Under those, you know, accountable regards. But at the moment I'm just happy to keep doing what it is I'm doing, which is just holding on to my lead and trying to see if I can extend on it. Alright, we are halfway through this race, and we still have another 10 laps to go, so I think this is probably going to take me just under 3/4 of an hour, which is 45 minutes. Even though it would be nice, of course, if there were going to be any other retro circuits from the previous games in the GT series that might, you know, return to make an appearance in GT7. I mean, that would be nice if we could have more circuits make a return. It would be nice if we could have more circuits from the previous GT games before GT Sport make a return to GT7. I think, if I'm being completely honest, the original circuits I would want to see back in GT7 would probably have to be Trial Mountain, Grand Valley, Deep Forest, and probably Special Stage Route 5. I think all four of those are great circuits to drive on. Even then, of course, if they look longer than they did previously. But that's okay, as long as they return, and also as long as we know it's based on an actual racing simulation and not just based on motorsports like GT Sport was. I mean, I really didn't have any problems with GT Sport physically. I mean, it was definitely an improvement over some of the farcical features that were featured in 6. But again, regarding the GT series overall, I'm hoping that 7 will at least be an improvement on sports, and then maybe I can actually feel like I will start to have good expectations for racing games again. Which oddly enough is something I've not officially seen for at least... Which oddly enough from many racing games is something I've not seen for at least 9 years by now. Considering there was also someone who did actually tell me on Twitch that video game soundtracks from like 1998 to 2012 was effectively when some of the best video game soundtracks were... when some of the best video game soundtracks were created. Anyways, have I already overlapped with Mitsubishi's by now? I think I have. Anyways. 8 laps to go. And as I would have anticipated, Route 11 is clearly the longest race in the championship. But it's fine, because I only have 8 laps to go before this race is said and done for. And then, once I have done that, I'll basically just be like Lenny Kravitz asking, "Are you gonna go my way?" And it is understandable to see why many people don't necessarily like Lenny Kravitz, but again, to me personally, I think Lenny Kravitz as an artist is okay. I mean, I can understand if people don't like him, but again, he isn't necessarily as bad as many people think he is. I mean, yeah, sure he's had his problems in the past, but isn't that something we all tend to have? Whoa, excuse me. Yeah, take that, dumbass. You really didn't think I was gonna... You really didn't think I was... You really thought I was going to let that one slide? Considering you should have conceded the position first off, and then we wouldn't have had that situation. Yeah, I think it's fair to say that my tyres have probably gone past their best by now. Also, furthermore, I think I've now just driven over 400 miles in this championship. I think I've now driven over 400 miles. I don't know for sure, but I'll have to check by the time this is done, but I think I've driven over 400 miles by now in this championship. Undeniably the second longest championship in the game overall. In my honest opinion. So through these 2 hairpin turns we go. I think it's fair to say that my tyres are not going to go for another hot lap before this race is done, because my front tyres are looking pretty spent up to this point. So I think I'm just going to take it slow for probably the next 6 laps. Really don't see any point in pushing it up to this point. I'm pretty sure that I will overlap the rest of the competition once pit stops have been made. Right, so I think I can see the Nissan Z all the way up there, going past the chicane. And even though I could pit before the end of this race if I really wanted to, the truth is I really don't see any point in pitting. Because I went as long as 21 laps on a set of tyres whilst I was driving around here in the endurance event here at Route 11. And even then, of course, I was driving a Dodge Viper then. And even then, of course, I was driving a Viper then. So the truth is, up to this point, I really don't see any point in going any further than I already have done. And now the Mustang is in the pits once again, making what will probably be both his second and final pit stop. And oddly enough at the moment, even though my lap times have been steady, oddly enough I've not really been falling too far off the pace at the moment. Which I would think at the moment is precisely what I'm more or less managing to do. Also, I'm yawning a lot. So oddly enough, the conservative lap times are actually helping me out at the moment, because I'm not really feeling too disconsolate at the moment. And I still continue to hit the walls. Anyways, as I just have something lodged in my throat. Up to this point, I would say I've ultimately got no challenges. So, all I need to do now is try and see if I can overlap the Nissan Z. Considering up to this point I've already overlapped the rest of the competition, so I might actually need to get a move on here. If I'm going to overlap the Nissan Z, even though I'll still be able to overlap him once he's made his pit stop anyway, or at least once he comes out of the pits, I will have overlapped him. Let's just try and see if I can actually do something properly this time. Fuck. That's a wall. Walls are not meant to be collided with. I'm pretty sure. Up to this point, I would say there really isn't anything else I can manage to do at the moment. So still continuing to close in on the Nissan. I did not hit the outside wall, surprisingly. I'm starting to close in on the Nissan once again. I've more or less just been playing the conservative approach since my tyres started wearing off. And slowly closing in on the Nissan Z. He's not looking like he'll stay ahead of me for much longer in terms of staying on the lead lap. From what I'm able to understand at the moment. And I'm pretty sure he'll be pitting in at the end of this lap, which means of course that I probably should be able to put him that one lap down. And then once I have done that, it means of course that my streak of lapping the entire competition will continue. And yep, I would say my right front tyre by now is probably dead. But somehow I'm still able to drive this thing. In spite of that. And yep, he is now in the pits. Once again, for the third and final time I would suspect. And he's just entering his pit box now, and I now start the final lap of this race. And where I'm more or less certain that if I have to pit one more time in this race, that if I have to go one more lap in this race, then I will need to pit. Because it looks like because it looks like my right front tyre is more or less dead up to this point. But again, I still managed to put myself in the position I need to be in order to, you know, achieve the ambition of myself just, you know, straight up trying to drive this thing up to the end of the race. Which is more or less what I'm trying to accomplish. Which, at the moment, I would say is more or less what I'm trying to, you know, accomplish. Alright. So, gonna have to short shift through these final two corners so that I don't spin the front tyres. I mean, even though my rear tyres are looking fine, my front tyres are pretty much dead, more or less. So, coming out of the final corner, just noticed it's just about 11 o'clock outside my house in the morning, considering I am recording this on Friday. And there we go! And the battle for fifth position still continues. Alright, everyone has finished. And so, in the end of that, more or less the same old running order, except for the battle that still rages on between the two Mitsubishis. So another 10 points to me, another 6 to the Nissan Z, 4 points to the Mustang, and 3 to the Skyline. So it's pretty much more or less evident to say that both first and second places have already been decided up to this point. Third is still yet to be decided, but I'm pretty sure over the next 2 races it will be decided. And there is still the battle for 5th, which rages on. And actually no, let's continue. I won't save this replay, as it is now time for race number 2 of part 3, and also the penultimate race of this championship overall. Away we go for Grand Valley Rivers, which oddly enough I would say personally is not really one of the most difficult circuits to get around. I mean, it isn't necessarily the easiest, but again, at the same time it's definitely not one of the most notorious. Oh, excuse you. Fucking hell. Fucking hell, that Evo 6 got aggressive. But then again, I figured of course if he was going to play that way, I just figured I'd force him wide. Just to get my fair share of the paint. Isn't necessarily how I would want to motor on around him, but again, the AI will basically do whatever it takes to win. Even if they have to cheat. Even if they have to cheat by forcing you wide. They will basically cheat to win. If I'm being completely honest. And I just hit the Skyline, mistakenly. Although then again, I was caught up in the pack, so there really wasn't anything I could have done about that once the... Fuck. Yep, okay. And now I suddenly know how it feels to be Hugh Grant. Whenever he's late for a wedding. And furthermore, yes, I am cross-referencing 4 weddings and a funeral when I say that. And now, I have to fight my way back up to the fucking front once again, because these AI just had to force me off circuit. Of course, I knew very well that for the second half of the championship for the third part of the championship it was going to be the longer circuits anyway, so overall, I'm really not too surprised up to this point. I mean, it might take a lap or 2 before I manage to slice my way through the field, but I'm pretty sure I can get back up front. But I'm pretty sure I can get back up front as long as I don't keep spinning. But again, I figured I was more or less going to spin again before the end of the championship anyway, because, well, to someone like me that was more or less inevitable. But it's fine, because we only have 1 race to go after this one anyway, and then it basically means I don't have to worry about this for the rest of the game. That's called selling the dummy fuckface. Yeah, that's called selling the dummy fuckface. Well, oddly enough, the striped Evo 6 is actually running pretty good in this race, which oddly enough is one thing I didn't expect to happen up to this point. now forcing the skyline out wide to try and slice my way through the field. As of which I've now already sliced my way up to second position in the space of remarkably a single lap. Although then again, I do very much have the most powerful car in the field by far, so it really doesn't surprise me too much over everything that's already happened, everything that's already been and gone up to this point. And I've now sliced that gap down. The gap is now only 3 seconds to the Z concept. He is not going to be staying in the lead much longer, I don't think. And that's a wall. So, had that little spin on the first lap, but pretty sure that I will manage to prosper once I take the lead. And then once I have done that, it basically means that what will happen from here is more or less another race of domination. Like I have basically been used to giving myself more or less since the start of this championship. Well, the AI don't seem to get around this circuit very well compared to me. And oddly enough, I am pretty sure this will probably be another easy dub. Even though I will of course need to give this car some maintenance once I'm done with this event. Because I figure that is something I'll need to do. As I'm just having a sip of water whilst heading down that front stretch. Don't really need to take any risks up to this point. I'm positive that I'll probably win the race anyway, because that's basically something I've been doing since the start of the championship. And I'm also quite certain this will probably be a clean sweep. Although then again, of course, even if I didn't use the Piper, I'm pretty sure any car I would have used with probably over 260 horses, I'm pretty sure that I would have been able to probably win every race anyway. With any car I have that's over 250 horses, I'm pretty sure I would have swept up the championship anyway. So, I think up to this point, excuse me, so I'm pretty sure up to this point that this will probably be another easy dub. And I'm also pretty sure I'm going to have to give this thing a wash as well by the time I'm done with this championship, because my car pretty doidy. can say it like that.
Fortunately for me at least, unlike Rhino GT4, I do not have to do the full championship in one segment. And well, the reason for that is because, well, I do most of the video I do my video editing on my phone, and then I basically transfer it over to my laptop where the video itself can be published. Well, uploaded and then published, and then basically, once I've done all that, I just move onwards to the next one, and it's more or less the same thing. Without any apologetic reasoning. Although oddly enough, I would probably also say there isn't any unapologetic reasoning. Well, just a shame to say they don't have the East circuit in this game of Grand Valley that they had in the previous two games. Really is a shame to say they closed that circuit off for this game. Would be nice if they could bring back both versions of Grand Valley in the future. Considering it was only really the full circuits they focused on and not the shorter circuits. Up to this point, I am not dominating this race by as much as I thought I was going to be, because I am only 27 seconds ahead of Vincenzi after 5 laps on circuit. Although, keep in mind of course that I did only just overtake him at the end of the second lap, so... or near the end of the second lap, so... I really don't think I should be too surprised, if I'm being completely honest. Also, by the way, the Skyline does now take over second position. More or less. Even though I have a feeling it will only be brief, because he will have to pit at probably the end of this lap for a fresh set of boots. Really don't think that's going to make for an entirely different strategy call, because I know very well the Z will easily take back second place. I'm also pretty sure that up to this point there really is no point in the Skyline going for second position. I mean, he has been able to go for third twice, but going any further up than that, I wouldn't necessarily think that's going to be, you know, necessarily a good shot. But at the same time, I wouldn't necessarily consider it to be a bad shot. Even though I am pretty sure that I will have to, you know, save the game after this race, you know, just in case, if anything should go wrong in the final race, in terms of my recording. Well, you know, then, well, you know, if that does turn out to be the case, then obviously I will be ready for it. metaphorically speaking. So yeah, leading by less than a minute over the Nissan Z now. I would imagine the Skyline by now has probably pitted in for tyres and has fallen back to 4th, as I would have anticipated. Although then again, there really isn't too much variety in this championship, because all it really is in this championship is mainly just Japan v America, and oddly enough, I would say on the basis of it all, America is winning. And, you know, when I say that, I mean America is just predominantly winning, with me having what is clearly the faster car in the field, when I say that. Probably the only reason why I've been dominating as much as I have. I think I just cut the corner a little bit there, but again, don't really think it's anything to be too concerned about, because up to this point I would say my performance has more or less been moderate in terms of how I've been driving my races, but again, shit. I'm actually yawning. Anyways. Within the more or less modesty that I have over my moderately taken performances, I would say overall it still has been more or less an easy ride for myself and this black Dodge Viper. I've more or less just been on pretty much a tearaway since I started the championship. As in, like, I've more or less just been on a tearaway streak since I started this championship, because that is how much more powerful my car has been this entire time. Some of you may call this cheating, but others may call... Some of you may call this cheating, but others may call it a more or less deliberate cause for action over me using this thing, which to me personally is more or less understandable, because I really don't care what people say to me as long as I manage to get the championship done within a certain amount of time. That's all I really care about. It's not necessarily because I've been feeling remorseful. It's more or less because I think this is very much the personal statement that I need to write up if it's something I want to complete within a certain amount of time. And at the moment I would say that's exactly what I am managing to do.
Right, so 9 laps are now on the board. My quickest lap time so far, more or less 2 minutes 2 seconds. So won't take quite as long as Route 11 did, but again, this will still be pretty long in comparison to Tokyo, because I would imagine most of the lap times I'll set in Tokyo will probably be sub 2 minutes anyway, so I'm just hopeful in saying... So, I'm just more or less, you know, hopeful in saying this will be another easy dub. Because then, once I've done this, I can probably go and make myself either a latte or an Americano. Because I am slowly fading. Upon the exhaustion within the commentary that I'm trying to give. And the only reason why I feel like I can actually do this as well, because to me personally, it doesn't feel like it takes forever to get through these championship events, because regardless of how long or short the racing is in a championship, I still feel more or less enough of the obligation to say that I do manage to get myself through a game when the time itself matters the most. Well, fortunately for me at least, there's only one race to go after this one. And then once that is done, that will be this entire championship done. D-O-N-E done. Regardless of how stretched out the elasticity period has been for this championship overall, because I'm pretty sure that if I add up all 3 segments together, it will have probably taken me at least under 6 hours to get this all done. Especially if it comes down to me, of course, dominating the event this much, as I more or less have been doing. And I think I can see the skyline there, but again, he will have to put in about 2 laps time, so I don't think he's going to be a contender for... Right, well, I do now overtake the Cobra, sorry, overlap the Cobra as it comes out of pit road, or the pit lane, whichever way you want to call it. Well, I just call it pit road, because I'm a NASCAR fan. But overall, this is more or less the way it's meant to be. I mean, tyre degradation is quite high here at Grand Valley. It's the one thing this circuit has been, I
iconically, you know, historical for. So just going to try and see if I can overlap the skyline up to this point, as of which I'm pretty sure he probably will be in the pits next time around. And it would appear as though my overlapping streak is going to continue. So officially, my streak of overlapping the entire field is going to continue. Because that is literally how dominant I have been throughout this championship. I think there was a little bump there, but again, don't really think it's anything to be concerned about. And yeah, okay. I just got the first corner. One thing I probably shouldn't have done. And I think I also just exceeded track limits. But whatever. I'm still involved in this. And I would still think that up to this point, I really don't think I have any competition behind me. Well, there he is. He's right there. I am very much catching up to him. And it should only be a matter of time before I get the overlapping done. Technically speaking, of course, that is exactly what I think is going to happen. Alright, so, more or less 2 minutes clear of the Nasenzi up to this point. I would say I don't have any other competitors up to this point. I do not have any ingratitude for the choice I made. I more or less knew I was going to dominate this championship right from the get-go. And, of course, I also knew that in the process I was also going to more or less fade out from the rest of the competition. Isn't ordinarily the way I usually tend to do things around here, but again, because of myself being on such a short timescale at the moment, I figured this, of course, would be the best choice for me to make just to get this championship over with. I did, of course, decide to take the obvious and most easy way out. For this event. Although, then again, of course, for probably the next 2 or 3 segments that I end up doing that I probably will end up doing for the oh yeah, probably for the next couple of videos that I do for the cleanup sessions. Ultimately, I would probably say this will end up being another easy win. Considering that is basically something that I've pretty much been doing since the start of the championship. Just more or less taking the lead early and then winning by more or less over a lap. Because that is just how much I have absolutely decimated the opposition. And I'm also pretty sure that if I was doing endurance racing up to this point, well, as much I probably can classify this as being endurance racing, but if I was doing this in an endurance event, I would have easily stonked the rest of the competition by now. If I was winning this much. So, almost there. Just got 5 laps to go after this one, and then it means I just have 1 race left. Woohoo. Or if I'm going to be truly Middle English about this, the term I should really be saying is hurrah. To it only being only 1 race to go. So here we go. Hurrah to the Americans for dominating. For very much dominating this event over. Hurrah to the Americans for very much dominating this event. over the Japanese like they did in the Battle of Midway. Because that is pretty much how much I'm dominating this event. Pretty much even more of a dominant victory to the Viper than it is to the Americans from when they joined the Second World War. Yes. And I don't think I need to explain how exactly that happened. But again, even though I may not necessarily be an American myself, I'm more or less an Englishman. I can still say that I am winning this championship for America! Because that is exactly what this Viper is doing. The championship is coming to America. Or coming home to America, I should say. Which, oddly enough, by the way, is also the name of... a football song reference, or a soccer reference if you live in America. Not to discriminate any wording problems. The Americans might have. But obviously, I'm easily accessible either way, so you know. There is that. Anyways, 4 laps to go, and then once I have done these 4 laps, I can pretty much just wait for everybody else to get to the finish, since that is the only real thing that matters up to this point. Well, I think the Mustang will manage to get back out on track ahead of the Skyline, because oddly enough, the Cobra has looked stronger than the Skyline for most of these races. He's appeared to have had more on-track pace, considering this race itself is... this championship has been predominantly overwhelmed with Japanese cars, except for saying, of course, that both myself and the Ford Mustang are essentially the only two American cars in this championship. And, well, because I've figured tyre wear is starting to become an issue now, I think I might actually pit. Just because of how it looks like my right front tyre is probably dead. Fuck it, I'll come into the pits. Just because of myself being at risk of my right front tyre going down. Even though that tyre has probably already gone down, but, you know. Of course, I did mention that tyre degradation is quite high here at Gran Valley, so I thought it probably was an appropriate time for me to change onto a fresh set of boots. I didn't figure I could have gone another lap on that set of tyres I had. Really had to be more or less decisive over that, but again, there really wouldn't have been any other choice that I would have done besides that. Also, I think by now I've probably driven over 500 miles in this championship. I think that's how many that is, because I've driven nearly 750 kilometers in this championship, which I think, as far as I know, is somewhere over 500 miles. Although I won't know for sure until I've had a look to see how many miles I've realistically driven. Furthermore, yes, this is something I do tend to do, of course, to understand my preferable methodologies of using imperial units over metric units. Just figured it rolls off the top better. Now, there are many other cars I could have chosen, but again, I figured this was probably one of the cheaper alternatives. But again, because I figured this was one of the cheaper alternatives, by pure comparison, this was ultimately the reason why I went for this thing. And well, it looks like the striped Evo 6 is going to beat the white Evo 6 to 5th position, so I think the positions by now in this championship have more or less been decided, is what he thinks. Don't hit me, don't hit me, don't hit me, don't hit me, don't hit me. Okay. The Evo 6 did not hit me. Good. Now, can just focus on the final 2 laps. But yeah, overall, I figured tyre degradation would more or less be an issue here at Gran. So some of you may have thought I was a coward to pit in with only 3 laps to go, but again, I figured I was needing a set of tyres that would take me up to the end of the race. So the truth is, quite honestly, I really don't give a shit. So to be completely honest, overall on the whole, I just really don't give a shit over everything that's already happened. I mean, I know I'm going to win the race anyway, and I'm also pretty sure this will be another dominant performance. Anyways, final lap, and then I will have just 1 race to go, as of which it's already taken me less than 1.5 hours to get through 2 races alone, or just under that amount of time. I guess it's just a matter of knowing if I can manage to survive the rest of the distance. Considering my channel now has over 50 subscribers to its name up to this point, and oddly enough, I would say that's probably going to keep climbing for every segment I do in this game, and then once I've finished it, I would need a break, so that's probably what I'll be doing once I've completed this game. Basically, I'll just be giving my PS3 a break for about 2 weeks whilst I try and get these videos uploaded. Let's now see what lap time I set on the final lap, and there we are. And also furthermore, by 6/10, I set a new best lap time. Let's fucking go. Alright, everyone has finished. And also, on that final lap, I set a new best lap time by 6/10. And set a 2 minutes 1.3, which oddly enough was one thing I was not focusing on. But anyways, these are now the point standings after 9 races. It's more or less going to be a clean sweep for me, regardless of what happens. I'm also pretty sure the Nissanzi is going to score a perfect 60 points for finishing second in every race. Mustang looks like he's going to finish in third, ahead of the Skyline, and as for the 2 Evo 6s, well, I would say their positions have also been decided. Fortunately, however, we have just 1 race to go, and at the fear of knowing the worst could happen, or in case if the worst happens, because I'm very much a pessimist, under those regards, I'm saving the game just in case. Because it is now time for the final race of the Polyphony Digital Cup. And by God, these races have basically been endurance runs. Let's just get this shit over with. And of course I do know very well that this circuit is not quite as long as Gran or Route 11 and... Oh, fuck me! Yep, and I started off this race in the best way possible. Come on, please don't strip. Okay. Also going to shift up into second gear so that I don't end up spinning again. And what a tremendous way for me to start the final race. By myself, just more or less defaultly spinning as a result of myself, once again, having to pretty much clout the inside wall and then suddenly just spin out once I hit the outside wall. Once again, very much showing my pessimism for this. And also furthermore, I did feel an itch. I did also feel an itch on my nose as well. But again, I don't think tyre wear... Okay, I actually need to focus on the track surface and not putting my car on the curbs, because that does not help me. Okay. I think I need to give these tyres a couple of laps to warm up, and then once they have, that's when I'm going to be, you know, just going flat out for the rest of this race, more or less. Alright, so first lap is done, and oddly enough, in spite of that mistake, at the end of the first lap the gap is only 5 seconds. So I'm more or less certain that I'm going to take the lead before this race is done, even if I don't overlap the rest of the competition. I am more or less certain this will probably end up being another easy win, as which this time it is surprisingly the Mustang that takes home the first position at the moment. So at the moment, of course, well, temporarily, I would think the Mustang is leading at the moment. So at least he was, before the Nissan Z forced his way past him. Anyways, and everything is getting a little bit sketchy there with the skyline. And I pretty much figured I had to do that for the snack, because I knew very well that he was more or less going to do something similar to what I did. And at the completion of 2 laps, I'm now only a second behind the Nissan Z, and inevitably, before the end of this lap, I will overtake. As I very well anticipate, this is what will happen. As I am very well anticipating, this is what will happen. This is what will more or less happen. So, you know, there is that. Now, many of you will be telling me that my streak of taking the lead at the end of the first lap has already ended by now. And well, the truth is, quite frankly, overall I really don't give a shit about that streak. Because the only thing I really do give a shit about right now is just going onwards to win this race, and oddly enough, because he is actually looking more competitive here than he has been in all the other races so far. He's feeling the power, and he's also feeling the fire, to quote him Fastway. Feel the power, feel the fire. I think I've got him this time, more or less. Under the circumstances, I would have expected to get him on a pure overtake. So, anyways, 1.8 seconds is now the interval to the Nissan Z up to this point. Just managed to avoid scraping the pavement, and I think it looks like from here this is where I'm more or less going to dominate the rest of this race. And I'm pretty certain that once pit stops have happened, I probably will overlap the rest of the field up to this point. Because I am positive that up to this point in the event, I've got virtually no shots of losing. Here's what he thinks. I think I also just had an itch on the back of my forehead, so I just figured I'd scratch it, just to try and see if I can get rid of it. I definitely felt an itch, I'm sure I did. Anyways. Here we go. So 4 laps are now complete, and ultimately up to this point I am more or less certain this is going to be yet another dominant performance. So 6.6 seconds is more or less the interval. I think all I'm really going to be doing right now is just setting a string of hot laps and then maybe trying to see how much longer it is before this race is said and done. I think it's still the Mustang that leads the skyline at the moment, but again, oh okay, it's vice versa. Well, again, don't think it really matters too much because I'm pretty sure the Mustang will clinch 3rd position. in the championship after this race is done, because the Mustang has just been that much more consistent. Now, there of course are many other cars I could have chosen, but the reason why I chose this one, well, because I feel confident in saying this car will take me to victory. And as I would have anticipated correctly, this car has taken me to victory in pretty much 9 out of the last 9 races. And I'm pretty sure this will be 10 races overall. Which means, of course, that this championship, like the Dream Car Championship, will ultimately be a clean sweep. So, more or less setting high to low 150s. Sure, that's the skyline I see there. And yep, both of them are in the pits now. But again, I'm pretty sure that since the gap between those two was 6 points coming into Tokyo, I'm pretty sure the gap itself was already surmountable enough for the Mustang to very much clinch third in the championship. And well, as for the rest of the championship standings, well, I would say they are more or less looking the same. Although, fortunately for me at least, the circuit is slightly shorter than the likes of Route 11 and Grand Valley, but again, the circuit, you know, still isn't necessarily the shortest in this championship overall, because I think the shortest circuit in this championship overall is midfield, but again, I would imagine Deep Forest probably comes pretty close in terms of what exactly are the shortest circuits in this championship. Really don't know which one is shorter in terms of length. But, as I anticipated, I am once again the Dominator. And by the time we have reached the end of this race, both myself and the Nissan Z, by the time this race is over, we will have pretty much dominated every single race in this championship. Myself finishing first in every race, and the Nissan Z finishing second in every single race. And I'm also positive this will probably move my win ratio up to 86% by the time this is done. I mean, that might just be me, but I think my win ratio might move up after I've swept this championship. Because that's more or less what it is. I also think I just saw a fly in my room. Whatever. I can always kill it later. If I manage to see it again. At some point. But anyways. Okay. We are now coming onwards to nearing the halfway point of this race, as of which we have just 2 more laps, and then that should be the halfway point. And
And then following that we should have just 10 laps to go in the Polyphony Digital Cup overall. Once I've done those, this championship overall will be done. Because once again, as per usual, I have just been the dominator. So, I think those are the two Mitsubishis that have now pitted up to this point. So I really don't think there's going to be anything changing that up to this point in the event. Also noticing a few glitches here and there, but again, it's nothing that cannot be resolved. Considering this thing does have a 16:9 aspect ratio in terms of how wide the game itself can go. So overall, I really don't have any real issues with the overall aspects of what my TV is doing, as long as I can eventually look for a successor and for a reasonable price. If it has the compatibility functions I need to make my system work. Hopefully. So, more or less just running my own pace up to this point. Really don't see any point in going any quicker than I already have done. Unless I really have to, but I would say up to this point, because tyre degradation is not as high here as it was at Grand Valley, as it is at Grand Valley, I would say I really don't have any problems with doing what I have been doing up to this point. I've more or less just been the dominator overall. I mean, if this championship does not move my win ratio up to 86%, then I'm pretty sure that once I've done this, I've managed to do a couple of the clean-up races, it will very much be up to 86% by then, is what me thinks. As of which, ironically, I'm now coming up to overlapping both of the Mitsubishis once again. And that's a roll. Thank God this is the final race. Because if it wasn't, then I would have to make this a 4-part championship.
because of how long it's taken to complete this many races. Although the truth is, overall, I really don't care up to this point. The only thing I really do care about is just getting up to the finish and hoping that I can manage to win the race. Oh, okay, this thing is a 6-speed. Yeah, I figured I had to check to be sure, but yeah, originally I did know this was a 6-speed transmission. Just figured I had to test it to be sure in knowing if it really was a 6-speed, and then if it was, I would be able to discover how fast this thing really is. Because I would imagine this thing is pretty fast. And even when I'm overlapping the AI, they still tend to be very aggressive on me. That's literally the sort of attitude they just tend to have. They will literally do whatever it fucking damn well takes to win. Even if that means causing a 2-car crash. That's literally what they'll do. It's just the authorized personality that these AI tend to have. They're basically just like angel eyes from The Good, the Bad and the Ugly. They'll basically do whatever it takes to win, even if that means cheating. So we have just 8 laps to go as the matter currently stands, and I think someone just hit the wall. I don't know if that was the Cobra, but I'm most likely to assume that might have been the Cobra that just hit the wall. Couldn't have been the Skyline that did that. Well, might have to check on replay, but I think it might have been the Skyline that just hit the wall there. And I've now driven over 800 kilometers on this thing, so that's probably more than 600 miles by now. So I would say by now I've probably driven more or less 600 miles by now. That is literally how long this championship has been. But then again, of course, Formula GT will undeniably be the longest, because I would think since Monaco is the final race of the Formula GT Championship, I'm pretty sure that by that point, of course, I will have probably driven more than 1,000 kilometers, which is more or less somewhere over or just under 800 miles. And yep, just as I figured, it was the snack. And, well, really cannot do anything about this unfortunate situation, because I've already tried to help him once, and clearly that did not work, but overall, it really doesn't matter, because the championship positions from pretty much 1st to 4th up to this point have already been decided, and I'm pretty sure that 5th and 6th will more or less be the same thing, from what I'm able to understand. From what I'm more or less able to understand. considering I now have just 6 laps to go in this race. And once I have done this, I can pretty much start saying hurrah. Pretty much a tremendous victory once again, and also very much to myself, pretty much sweeping up and emerging victorious in all-time races. As I am pretty sure the margin of victory after this race will undeniably be 40 points, because I will have scored the perfect 100, and the Nissan Z, as a result of him finishing second in every race, will officially have the perfect 60 points, because he finished second in every race, and it looks as though that is going to more or less be the same thing again. And I am not going to doubt that. Because I will be coming up to overlapping pretty much, because I will be coming up to overlapping the Z, excuse me, very soon. Up to this point, and I really won't feel anything irritating under my skin by the time this is done. Shit. It's fine. You've still got another 5 laps to go, but then once you've done that, that should be everything. I did attempt to a support circumstance heading into the final corner. And I more or less did the same thing again, except I failed. Although oddly enough, of course, I have heard this thing does have a reasonably high top speed, so even if we did race a test course, I'm pretty sure this car would unquestionably win, because it would have more or less the highest top speed of every car in the field, pretty much. Including some race cars, I might add. Because this car must have literally been quick. In like the wind when I did the event itself originally. Just literally is more or less what it was. Once I got to test course. And I'm hoping, of course, that by the time I do a Redux version of this game in the future, hopefully I will manage to correct most of the mistakes I made originally. Which oddly enough was something that I have done quite a lot of in this game. And once I do manage to do Redux versions of at least the first 3 games, possibly the first 4, I will have managed to correct myself from most of the mistakes I made originally. And where hopefully by then, of course, I can probably choose a slower choice for this championship compared to the one that I used, because this car, by pure comparison to the AI, is clearly overpowered and very much detrimental to the rest of the competition. Very much counterintuitive towards the imaginations of what you as the viewers might think over what choice I would have chosen for this championship for entertainment purposes. Furthermore, yes, to those of you watching who have seen The Good, the Bad and the Ugly, you probably do know very well that is another Clint Eastwood film. And also furthermore the concluding film of the Dollars trilogy, which starts off with A Fistful of Dollars, then it's For a Few Dollars More, and then after that it's The Good, the Bad and the Ugly. And I believe two of those films, if I'm not mistaken, also contains the American actress Eli Wallach, who oddly enough, of course, is actually pretty good with that grey moustache. Very much represents the image of angel eyes. In both For a Few Dollars More and The Good, the Bad and the Ugly. Both of those I would like to say are great Western films. Even though one of them is very much based during the peaking months of the American Civil War. But again, a lot of Western films back then were based during the Civil War. So, you know. Meanwhile, don't really think I need to tell you about what exactly the running order is, because up to this point, I've more or less been doing this for like less than 2 hours now, in terms of how long this has been. I'm pretty sure that I'll probably be close to surpassing the 2-hour mark by the time this race is done, because that is just literally how long this championship has taken for me to complete. Although, I think up to this point there really isn't anything else I would be able to do. So, 2 laps to go, and then once I have done these 2 laps, this long-ass championship will finally be done. And even though my right front tyre is almost dead, the truth is, I really don't care up to this point, because all I'm really bothered about doing now is just getting this thing up to the end of the fucking race. Also wouldn't surprise me if up to this point by now I have surpassed the 2-hour mark. But again, that is just literally how long this fucking championship is. Easily the second longest in the championship easily the second longest championship in the game overall. But it's fine, because we are almost done with this, finally. Yep, okay, my right front tyre is dead. And well, there's really no point in making a pit stop, even then of course if my final lap does prove to be terrible. I really don't see any point in making a pit stop up to this point. Even then of course if my right front tyre really is dead. The truth is I really don't care, because I only have one lap to go, so there really is no point in me pitting in for a fresh set of rubber. I could have done if I really wanted to, but I chose not to because I prefer to challenge myself. And what do you know? Both the Skyline and the Cobra had to make one final pit stop, because they are nearly 2 laps down. I'm also pretty sure before the end of this race I will end up putting at least someone 2 laps down. Because I recently overlapped the Z. Although, I would think up to this point everyone is probably going to stay 1 lap down. Also furthermore, I've driven just about 1,000 meters in this one race alone. I think it's meant to be 1,000 meters, but yeah, whatever. Okay, there it is. I've now driven over 1,000 meters. I don't know what I'm talking about. Anyways, I win. Yes! It is done. Let's now wait for everybody else. Fucking hell. Okay, everyone has finished. And officially, in the end of that, the championship itself has pretty much been dominated by 2 cars. Myself and the Nissan Z Concept. So, like with the Dream Car Championship in the Professional League, it is another clean sweep. So, 100 points to me, 60 points to the Nissan Z, 37 to the Mustang, 32 in the end to the Skyline, and in the end of it all, as a result of the striped Evo 6 taking home a 4th place position, he ultimately beat out the RS Evo 6 by a single point. So, 100, 60, 37, 32, 16 and 15 points are officially your final point standings for the Polyphony Digital Cup. And yes, I have decided this is where I will save Part 3. God, 107 segments. Fucking hell. Anyways, prize car time. And we get another trophy with a ribbon. Okay, I'll accept this. I think I'll just let this go around a couple of times. Oh, that's it. Oh well. Oh well. Shorter than I thought it was going to be, but let's see what car we get. Oh! Fucking hell. We get another Escudo. Well, at least we get some more money, so that's just what I'm gonna do with this thing. Another fucking Escudo. Fan-fucking-tastic. Anyways, for the second time running, I have swept every race in this championship. Now we have just one championship left. So in the end of that, we are now 93.3% complete with the game overall. Win ratio stays the same, and also I'm going to give this car some much needed maintenance. So just gonna wash it, and I'm also gonna change the oil, because I've driven over 850 kilometers with this thing. So there we go. I drove 846.6 kilometers in this thing. And of course, if I have a look and see what exactly that converts to in miles, that is... hold on. Yeah, let's see. So, yeah. 526 miles is how far I've driven in this thing. Fucking hell. And well, as for my prize car, well, don't really see any point in keeping it, so I'm just gonna sell it, since I already have one of these things. And I must admit, the prize car giving structure is an issue in this game. One of very few, I might add, but anyways. Next time we shall be doing the cleanup races as a bonus to this game. Stay tuned.